Hello and welcome to episode 157 of First Geek 411. I'm your host, Cameron Franklin, and with me this week, still in an undisclosed location, Shanine. How are you doing today?
A little frazzled, but good. Also freezing.
Oh,
So freezing.
how cold is it there?
It feels approximately like minus 40, which in Fahrenheit is minus 40.
Right, I have to say, I can do that conversion very
So
easily.
Yeah.
it's cold.
Yeah, that's very rough. Emma, glad that you are with us today. How are you doing?
Pretty good. Glad to be here. No complaints. It's a nice break from my day-to-day life.
Nice.
A Zoom with less than 10 people.
Yes.
Yay!
And I'm sure as much as you enjoy classes, hopefully fun discussion that's a little bit like not schoolwork related.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Looking forward to it.
This week we got Keanu Reeves, Cinderella, Avatar, The Last Airbender, and then our top 3 illustrations of kindness. But before we get into that, we got our social media where our listeners can find us as One Geek 411, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and you can also hop in our Discord server if you want to chat with us between shows. Then you can send us an email at 1stgeek411@gmail.com, and then check out our show notes on our website, onegeek411.com. You can watch live on Twitch each Monday night, 6:45 Mountain Time, be part of the post-show chat. Then you can find the videos over on YouTube, where you can, of course, like and subscribe, click that bell, all the things that the people say. And then we also have a Redbubble store if you would like some First Geek 411 merch. And then if you're a podcast listener, you can rate and subscribe wherever it is that you listen to podcasts. Before we get into the news for this week, let's catch up with some of the things that we have been up to. Emma, what's been going on for you?
Quite a bit. For school, I've been working on my second video project, which is fun for me because I get to start a computer editing things, which may not sound super exciting, but I find it fun. I've been playing some more Assassin's Creed Valhalla and started Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order last night because that's a more linear game. And with open world games like Assassin's Creed, I get super distracted. Cameron and I were talking about this before we started, where I typically just go, since I'm over here, I'm going to go check out this blue dot, and 2 hours later, I'm like on the complete opposite end of the map from where I'm supposed to be. So it takes me months to finish a main quest because I just get distracted. So I started Jedi Fallen Order last night because it's more linear, and I'm going to accomplish it sooner or finish it sooner. And I'm maybe 40 minutes into it, but it's a lot of fun already.
It's a great game.
My big adulty thing this week was that I got a printer, and I felt very much like an adult when I got it. I've never owned a printer. I know it's weird, but yeah. And then I started reading Ready Player One, and I'm loving it already. So those are my things from this week.
Very nice. Shanine, I'm very happy about the first thing on your list.
Yes. We finished watching Scrubs.
So did you watch the actual last season, or did you stop?
Yep.
I'm sorry.
Yep. I'm just gonna pretend it's not a thing.
I feel like it's one of those things where if they would have actually just done it as a spin-off instead of an official last season, it would have been okay. But the fact that it is the last season.
Yeah, no, it would have been fine as its own thing. But the previous season had the big heartfelt finale, and then there's just more. But it's like they took Scrubs and took away everything that I loved about it, but still called it Scrubs. And I'm like, I don't like this. So
they gave us knockoff JD, and
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what I said. It's like they redid the core cast
Yeah.
and
The
then took
last
out
season?
all of the quirky side characters that I love.
Yeah.
Why would you
What
redo the
is
cast
Scrubs
for the
without the
last
janitor?
season?
So the idea is that it's like about the next generation of
Oh, that's
people.
lame.
And
I'm sorry,
so,
that's lame.
yeah, so all the main characters are now
so
like
lame.
the like seasoned doctors training the new ones.
That feels like a lazy cop out.
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry. I've never even seen the show, but this seems
Yeah.
like very much a lazy cop out to me.
Yeah, it's the like last season with the main cast is so good and has such a good finale.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just like, oh, just kidding.
Lies.
Yeah. Oh man.
Anyways, I've also been reading Ready Player One some more, and now I'm just in like a super 80s mood and want to watch like all of the 80s movies and things.
Yep. I've never read it. I saw the movie on a plane once, but I'm already loving the book. So
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah, I'm excited to chat about it.
me too. This is what I'm excited about.
And WandaVision.
Oh my gosh.
Ah!
So I feel like this is one of those weeks where we might need a post show chat.
Oh yeah.
Where like we turn off the stream and like we can all just actually talk about like spoilers and stuff like that without like worrying about ruining things for people in chat. Like, oh
Who haven't
man.
seen it? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, just
yeah.
Ah, so good.
Yeah. We actually like for the first time had to discuss like the spoiler like policy for Discord where it's like use the double bars. Like make sure like don't imply things, like do all of this stuff. Like
I'm so glad the spoiler function is something that I actually knew how to use in Discord, like, and that I learned how to use a while ago. And I've never used it until WandaVision. And I'm just like, okay, I'm going to be a decent human being because I want to talk about this, but I also don't want to ruin it for people. So,
yeah. I feel like
use it.
Every episode of WandaVision has put us closer and closer to this point.
Yeah.
Where like we might end up like having to make like an actual like spoiler channel just for WandaVision so that we can like actually have discussions without ruining it for people. Like it's just we're just so close.
And I ended up not being able to watch this episode till Saturday.
Oh man.
And had to be like so careful.
Staying off the
I
internet.
was
Things
not
like
on the
that.
internet a lot. Yeah.
Back in my Tumblr phase that I admittedly had, it was definitely like when Doctor Who seasons were on, I just wouldn't go on Tumblr for a few days until I got to watch it and things like that. So it's just like I'm at this point very used to staying off the internet until I get the chance to watch something, but it is a skill you have to build up if it's something you've never done before. So
yeah, and it's I feel like them doing it episodic like they are it's so smart. It's so funny to be like it's so smart to do it the way that things have always been done, but like
in this day and age of
in the day
instant
and age of
releases,
exactly. It keeps the hype going week over week. Like it
makes it more worth it.
Yeah, and from the internet standpoint, it doesn't feel like the internet moves on right away because it's kind of just every like 2 or 3 days, then it dies down a little bit, then 2 or 3 days leading up to the next one, and then like it just kind of keeps it perpetuating rather than it's all over. Here's everything. Here's all the things you missed. Like,
and this way, it still feels like a Marvel thing because we're so used to with Marvel movies, them like these huge gaps of time between movies, and with this, we're even though it's a TV show instead of a movie, we still have this gap of time between each snippet.
Speaking of which, it's not in our notes because it's kind of is what it is. But we got a new teaser for Falcon and Winter Soldier, which
Yay.
like I'm super excited to watch, but is also like the most generic like MCU content.
Yeah.
And so it's like it's just like, oh, it's gonna be great and I'm gonna enjoy it. But after
Generic.
WandaVision, it's like we're going back to just superhero action, which is cool.
Yeah.
Like by all means, but
I haven't watched the teaser yet, but I think this is probably the show that I'm least excited about.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like the humorous relationship between the two is going to be pretty good. But I think, Cameron, you mentioned this in the Discord earlier. It does seem like there's not a whole lot of plot, at least just from the teaser. Whereas with WandaVision, even before we got it, just the teasers, you could tell that there was something going on. So,
yeah, completely agree. And I guess for me this week, I also played some Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I thought I was going to beat it, and then the game baited me. And it was like, surprise, there's a whole nother like alliance to do. And I was like, oh, I thought I was done with the story. It felt like that was the like climax of the plot.
lies.
And now it's over. Or now it's not over, I mean. So so we'll see how this hopefully last story mission goes, and then have like all the cleanup stuff to do, of course. I definitely want to finish going through and taking out all the people in the order and stuff like that.
I'm not there yet.
But plot twist, there's Templars. And they're the bad guys.
I mean, there's some things that I've just sort of gathered from my first couple hours play, but, you know, that's just me being very observant about things. So I'm going, this doesn't look right. Anyway.
Yeah. But yeah, it's really good. I'm excited to see how they're going to wrap up the plot now. But I have thoughts, but I'm going to save them. Emma, in like 6 months when you beat the game,
when I actually finish it,
I'm excited to talk to you about it. But
well, it's definitely my go-to de-stressor game right now, because it does have that open world option to just like, if I don't feel like doing anything structural, I can just wander around and check things out, which is nice. Normally Horizon Zero Dawn's my go-to game, but since this is one I haven't actually played before in terms of storyline, it's my go-to game, and it's a lot of fun. So,
and then let's see, we watched commercials and ate food yesterday. I guess there was also sports on, but was mostly there for the commercials and food.
I heard about that,
and so
wasn't sure if it was a big deal or not.
Yeah. It was not the most exciting game of sports ball ever. But and it was it was not the most exciting batch of commercials ever either, to be honest. So it was what it was.
It was what it was.
And then the last thing for me was we watched Deadpool, which I have actually never seen. And so
I saw that one on opening night.
Yeah. So it was my first time watching that movie. It's good. I mean, I don't like, it's Deadpool. Like, it's one of those that's like, I was not surprised by anything and enjoyed it. Like, enjoyed the whole thing. Like, it's one of those.
I went to college in Helena, which is how I know Chris, and there's a movie theater, I think just a little under a mile from campus. So every time there was a big movie release, I would just walk to the movie theater and watch it, because I could walk there pretty quickly. And it was great. And I saw Deadpool in theaters along with many other Marvel movies, because I could just walk there late at night in a really safe town in the middle of Montana. So.
Yeah. The biggest dangers are just bears.
Yeah. Have my bear spray with me. So.
speaking of Marvel, let's jump into our news. Emma, what do you got for us?
Right. So part of this cracks me up, which is why it's the biggest reason why I put it down here. But supposedly, Marvel has reached out to Keanu Reeves about or offering the role of Kraven the Hunter for a Spider-Man spinoff movie, which is cool. It'd be great to have Keanu Reeves in the Marvel universe. But when I read this article on it, like after they're like, oh, like supposedly Keanu Reeves and Kraven the Hunter Spider-Man spinoff movie, there was a paragraph where there was a quote from Feig, the beloved MCU person, supposedly, that basically just said, we talk to Reeves for pretty much every MCU movie we make, so don't get your hopes up as to whether or not he takes the role. And it just cracked me up because it was like, yeah, we've talked to him, but we talk to him for every movie. So,
I mean, it's got to work one of these times, right?
Yeah. It's got to work one of these times.
Yeah. It's like that shotgun approach of if you just offer him a role in every movie, eventually he'll say yes.
Eventually he'll take one. So, yeah. Maybe we'll get Keanu Reeves in the MCU. Maybe we won't. Maybe not. We'll see.
With kind of what's been happening lately with Marvel, I would love it if this is actually a tease and he's already been cast in a Marvel movie.
That would be great.
And it's just like, he declined this because he's in this other movie.
Yeah. I wouldn't put it past Marvel to do that kind of thing at this point. So.
I'm super interested for like kind of like Keanu's comeback.
Yeah.
Like it seemed like around like The Matrix, there was like he was in like everything. And then he kind of died out for a while. Not died out, but like it seemed like a lot of the movies he was in weren't movies.
He plateaued.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it. And then like maybe it was like the John Wick movies very much like put him back in like public conscience, and then like Cyberpunk, which I mean, of course hasn't gone great, but like him being in like that kind of put him back out. And then I feel like he just kind of like took back over by storm. But
everyone's having another Keanu Reeves moment. Yeah. I can see it. And especially if he does actually end up having a role in Marvel, it'll definitely put him back out there. So.
Do y'all have so assuming this isn't happening, do y'all have any, like a role that you would like to see Keanu in?
Just in general
or like
in Marvel?
MCU wise? Like is there
MCU wise.
Is there like a character you would like to see him play? And maybe even like as we're thinking of that, we could even say like X-Men, like or Fantastic Four or any of those, like now that like Disney's gotten the rights back to these characters.
I'm referencing my Marvel poster, which is why I'm looking back. I'm listening, but
yeah. I think he like. I guess because like since I asked this, I was actually kind of ready with a character, and it was like I would like him to see him. Like I think he would make a really good Mr. Fantastic. Because like it wouldn't be the normal super boring Mr. Fantastic.
Yeah, I can see that.
Like I think that he would bring some really cool depth to that character that we don't normally have.
Yeah.
And like he could still play and maybe it's kind of similarly, I think he'd be a really interesting Professor X. Because I think he would play like the less moral versions of those characters very well.
Yeah. So along a similar track, are we in this question including the Netflix shows? Okay. Because I was going to say Punisher.
Ooh.
That would be pretty cool, but since the Punisher already has an actor associated with the name, But if they wanted to recast the Punisher for the movies,
or just have it be a second Punisher,
or just have it be a second Punisher or whatever. I mean, I also like that would be pretty cool, but I also feel like that is in some ways a more typical Keanu Reeves role. But I'm sure if I knew more about characters who are in the comics and not the movies, I'd have a better answer. But that's the one I've got.
Yeah, I can see him as the Punisher, just with his like John Wick persona and everything. But like Isaac said in chat, Bernthal was so good. Like he really is a good Punisher. So I don't know if I'd want to see him recast. Mr. Fantastic also was like the first one to come to mind for me.
And then
I've never actually.
Go ahead.
I've never seen any of the Fantastic Four movies because all I hear is that they're so bad.
They're not
so
any good.
I'd really like to see one with Keanu Reeves that's good, and then I could actually watch one.
I'll say, like, I feel like for the time, the original Fantastic Four movie wasn't that bad. Like, I feel like it's one of those movies that definitely didn't age well.
Yeah.
But, like, it's not one of those movies that I, like, left being like, why was this made? Like,
yeah, that's fair.
Then in chat, Ross says Keanu as Mr. Sinister, who is a really cool, like, X-Men villain. I think is primarily where Mr. Sinister is. He kind of does that, like, plan from the background kind of character. And so I think, like, Keanu would make a really cool, like, big bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is definitely one of those questions that, like, reminds me of how much I want to actually, like, read some of the Marvel comics and, like, actually get to know some of the, like, original material more. Because it's like, oh, yeah, like, everyone's seen the movies, but not everyone is gonna go and read the comics because they feel like it's a kid's thing or whatever. But this is definitely one of those questions where I'm like, oh yeah, I actually want to go and read some of the comics and see how they differ from the movies and get to know some of these weird characters that haven't made it onto the big screen yet, because that would be really cool. So yeah, that's my spiel.
Chat or YouTube, if you have ideas for what MCU role you would like to see Keanu in, let us know. Also, as a teaser, this might tie in with our top 3 for next week. So, you know, already got that, like, got the brains going on that one. So, Shanine, what do you got for us this week?
Okay. The Rogers and Hammersteins Cinderella is coming to Disney Plus later this week on the 12th. And I'm so excited because this is one of my favorite live action Cinderellas. It's so good. It's so good.
Yeah,
it's my favorite.
I don't know if I've seen this, and I did not realize that Julie Andrews was in this. Like, as in this is Cinderella, but like.
Yeah, she
like,
is
the original one, not the 1997 one.
Oh, right, yeah.
That is coming to Disney Plus. This one is with Brandy.
Oh, my bad. I was looking at the wrong one.
Brandy and Whoopi Goldberg and people whose names I'm blanking on right now, but are really big names.
Victor Garber?
Yes.
That's all that it lists on the Screen Rant article from when I Googled top 10 live action Cinderellas.
There's more. Is it Whitney Houston?
Yes.
Yeah.
As the fairy godmother. Yep.
And it's one comedic actor. He's bald.
Jason Alexander.
Yeah.
Is that the guy?
Yeah.
What makes this your favorite Cinderella? Or live action Cinderella?
This might be like my second favorite, but it is my favorite Disney live action. Because the songs are excellent, the cast is incredible, and
Can
like
we talk about
just
the representation for a movie that came out in 97?
yes,
It is
there
great.
several black actors, and then somehow a black queen and a white king had an Asian son. And yeah, they went for it, and I love it.
Also, so I have to say, when I was looking through the notes, so Shanine, you have under this bullet point, what do you think is the best live action Cinderella? I'm not gonna lie, the first movie that came to my mind was She's the Man, which is nothing to do with Cinderella at all. But I'm just like, ah, yes, she's the man. That's my answer. And then I was like, oh, that doesn't work at all for this question. So, just to put that out there.
So yeah, what do you think is the best live action Cinderella, Disney or not? I'm also throwing Ever After out there.
I'm
Hold on.
gonna be honest. I don't know if I've seen the
Okay.
live action Cinderellas.
There's like a
Shanine.
million of them. You had to have seen something.
Like it's one of those of like, again, because I'm on like Screen Rant's top 10 live action Cinderellas, and they have like Ella
just-
Enchanted on here, which I'm like,
Yeah.
I feel like
I
I've
love
probably
Ella
seen that.
Enchanted.
Like that's
I-
one.
I-
but-
Yeah.
I just rewatched that one a couple weeks ago. Still good.
So, Shanine, I was trying to remember the name of the movie, and you said Ever After, but one of my professors, my writing professor, wrote Ever After.
Seriously?
That's awesome.
That's so
I'm
cool.
going to a top tier film school, and
That's
my
amazing.
writing professor wrote Ever After, or at least was like one of the writers, or one of the main writers. So it was like one of his fun facts about himself.
That
So,
is
yeah.
a very fun fact.
I'm at this point, I'm a month in, and I'm like, I'm definitely getting my tuition's worth out of this education, because like all of these people have worked on things like Ever After and big name things. But yeah, so just yeah, he's a cool guy. You would like him.
I do.
Got a great sense of humor, and I'm just so excited to learn from him. And he's like, use as many commas as you want. I don't care if it's a 3-page run-on sentence. As long as it makes sense, go for it. So, yeah.
I like it. So I guess with that, again, I say this as someone who has maybe seen one of these live action Cinderellas. What differentiates to y'all a good Cinderella story versus like of these renditions? What separates the good from the bad?
I think at this point, given that we've seen the story so many times, it's the acting. Like, it's really, once you figure out that it's a Cinderella story, you're, no matter what fancy take they've done on it, you're just like, yeah, okay, I know what's gonna happen. So it's just whether the acting is good and the whatever the fancy twist is well thought out. So like if it's modern day or um, taking place in a different culture, or like there's any number of things you can do with it, but your audience is still gonna be like, okay, this is a Cinderella story, evil stepmother, two evil stepsisters, dad dies, prince, ball, fairy godmother, dress, glass slippers, missing glass slippers, so on and so forth. Like, you get the point. Like, you can still pretty much predict what's going to happen. So as long as it's well thought out and good acting, then it's just...
For me, there has to be something really unique about it.
Yeah.
Like, for example, Disney's latest live action, I think was awful. I know a lot of people liked it, and I think it was real unnecessary and real boring.
Was it basically just the animated, the turned live action?
Pretty
like,
much.
Super basic.
I don't think
basic.
that they did anything super new with it. And it was Cinderella, and that's all that it was.
I feel like a movie like Beauty and the Beast did benefit a little bit more from a live action, because that has like the living candlesticks and clocks, like all of these pieces of furniture that were coming alive, that I at least was like, yeah, okay, I want to see this candlestick if it were in the real world, or this walking clock, or whatever, like whatever their names are. Whereas yeah. Whereas clearly I'm not the biggest Disney person. Like, Disney is cool, but my knowledge is not super in that area. Anyway, whereas a story like Cinderella is like, we've already seen it so many times in so many real life scenarios because of the Disney original movie, that like there's no desire for me to want to see a Disney live action remake of it, because it's just like, I've already seen that. I've already seen a live action Cinderella. I've seen like 20 live action Cinderellas. So I just never saw the Disney live action Cinderella because it didn't seem worth it. So.
Yeah. And it's not, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But most of the Disney live actions are not, in my opinion.
Yeah. Deanna has words for you in chat. But...
Yes, I see your words, Deanna, and my realm of expertise exists more in the science fiction area, because that is my realm of interest. That and fantasy. But you know.
Yes, I'm sorry, Deanna. It's my stance.
Made my stance on live action Cinderella well known.
Very clear.
All right. And on a completely different note, the actor Christopher Plummer died this week. He was a Canadian actor, and he spent 7 decades in the industry, which is wild. And yeah, he is an amazing actor, and it's sad.
He was the father in Sound of Music. Super sad.
Yeah. He was also a character in Elder Scrolls V Skyrim. Probably not his best known work.
Probably not.
It's crazy looking through
May you rest in peace.
Yeah, his credits are long.
Yeah.
And then I guess on mine, we got news this week that we're getting a Avatar: The Last Airbender tabletop RPG, and I could not be more happy. I think this is a ton of hype, and I honestly can't wait to see what they do. So Shanine had found an article from Dice Breakers, and it's coming from Magpie Games, who did the Root role-playing game Bluebeard, Bribe and Masks, a next generation or a new generation. And so they'll be bringing this in. And again, I'm super happy. How do y'all feel? Are y'all here with me?
Root's a good game. I can tell you from experience playing it like 3 times. It's complicated, but it's a good game. So I have a feeling this is going to be a good game as well, given that. But also given the fact that I'm very neutral on Avatar: The Last Airbender, my hype is probably not nearly as high as yours. So
I'm hyped with you, Cameron. I think the only kind of like fandom related RPG that I've done before is Star Wars, which has been super fun. So I think Avatar would also be super duper fun.
One of the points that we have about it is that players will not be taking on the role of the Avatar, which is, probably a good thing, but will instead
super overpowered.
Right. But will instead create characters using playbooks that will define their abilities and attributes. Not much is known about the mechanical underpinnings of the Avatar RPG, but Magpie stated the importance in representing in its RPG the adventurous nature and the struggle with morality that made both animated series so beloved. So, I'm super curious to how, the struggle of morality is going to be brought in. But I'm excited that it will be.
Absolutely.
And then from a game standpoint, or is there anything that, I know, Emma, you said you're not a huge Avatar fan, but is there anything that y'all would be excited to see brought into the game?
I wouldn't say that I'm not a huge fan. It's just I liked it and I enjoyed it, but I didn't obsess over it. But in terms of brought in, I mean, it sounds like they're gonna have different sort of play styles for each of the 4 elements, from my understanding. And that's really cool. That's something that, you do different things on your turn based on what element you're playing. And that's something that I'm excited about that they're bringing in. And I guess I'm just interested in how they're going to do that. And maybe even just having the I'm thinking of them as spirit animals, but they're not spirit animals. Maybe something to do with just their animal companions. What's the sky buffalo with
the sky bison?
The sky bison. As an extension pack, each character can get this animal from the world that gives them an extra little bonus or something to add to the gameplay. So someone from who is an airbender can have a sky bison that helps them travel further or something. I don't know. That would be pretty cool, in my humble opinion.
Shanine, what do you think?
I don't know. I'm scrolling through. Do they say what kind of era it takes place in?
I don't think they did. They did announce that, so the core rulebook's was to come out February of next year. Then Republic City, or there'll be 2 supplements. The first one is Republic City, which will come out in August 2022. And then the Spirit World, which will come out in 2023. So just based on that sounds like Legend of Korra.
Right.
But they might do it kind of agnostic, like, because that could easily be the time between the series as well. So like presumably the Avatar could be Aang, and we could be having like these are other adventures in the world while Aang is still Avatar. So
Yeah. Yeah, so I think that'll be interesting to find out exactly where, when we are, what the world is looking like.
yeah, for me, because I don't know, I feel like this is probably one of those things I've thought about too much. And so like for me, I want, because like they're presumably gonna have stuff like metal bending, lightning bending, like the more like I don't know if advanced is the right word, like the more unique styles of bending. And I guess my hope there is that they don't make it feel like you have to play that way. I don't want it to feel like it's one of those things where if you're playing an earthbender and you don't choose to do metal bending, that you're just wrong. It's more of like to
you
go back
automatically lose or whatever.
Right. Like to go to what Emma said earlier, like I would love it to be the idea of like different play styles. And so it's like maybe like the traditional earthbender is more tanky, whereas if you do metal bending, that changes you into a more of like a traditional fighter role.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And so
they're the game root that's made by the same people. It's that like part of it is that basic idea where each character is from a different tribe, basically, and each like tribe has a different way that they play. So you do different things on your turn than the next person does. But in that you can even like do that differently each round as the same character. So that would look cool with this Avatar context.
In chat, Chunk the Hut says Agni Kai's. And so kind of like off of that, like I think having cool one-on-one fights would be really interesting. If there's a way that they can build that up besides the because like I think a lot of RPG systems kind of struggle with the like I'm standing next to you, so I'm going to attack you, and you can't move because then I get an attack of opportunity. And so I'd really like to see them have like that sort of like more mobile fights that we get to see in those one-on-ones. And then like my other thought is like pro bending. Like I would love in like especially in like the Republic series or Republic City book, I would love to see them do like rules for pro bending and have that be like an alternate way that your characters can earn money or earn fame or earn something through like, or even if your team isn't involved in that, they can help pro benders or hinder pro benders or like have some way of interacting with that side of the story.
Absolutely. That'd be pretty cool.
And then also, just because, you know, I'm always happy to talk about Avatar. And do y'all have from the show, do you have a favorite type of bending?
Water. I think it's very peaceful and fun.
Yeah, I think I also tend to gravitate towards the water bending.
And for me, obviously, I lean towards air. Like, Aang is my guy. Like, there's a reason that, like, Aang is, like, the majority of my top threes is either an, like, Avatar The Last Airbender thing or is, like, Kingdom Hearts thing or something like that. But
air would be my second choice.
And I do gotta say, I really love what they did in Legend of Korra with the like expanding the other types of bending. It kind of takes away a little bit of the wonder of them, but it makes it seem like a more obtainable thing that people can just learn how this works. It's a skill versus like were almost like a mindset where like no one could bend metal until someone figured it out. Then it turns out that people could have learned how to do this for a long time. They just couldn't wrap their heads around how it worked and didn't have someone to teach them. And so like I really love that idea of that series, or how it's brought into the series.
Question. Given that I only ever watched like 2 episodes of Korra, so the extension of Earth is metal
and
as,
lava.
Like, the main, and lava.
Yeah, it's like it like branches out.
Yeah, I know for water it's blood. Is there any other ice? Is there any other for water?
Water is like closer to the spirits. So like, and then water also has like healing. Chunk just said that in chat as well.
Okay.
And so like there's that side of water where you can learn how to use the water to actually heal people's wounds and that kinds of things.
Okay. And then lightning is fire. Fire, lightning. What about... I forgot my elements.
Air.
Is there an extension for air? I'm just curious. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah. So
I've only seen 2 episodes.
Ish. So like, and I bet it's one thing that like if they were ever going to do a 3rd series, we would get like a more official what it can be. Some people have thought that it would be sound. Because that very much ties in with what air can already do. That would make
sense.
And then there's also like the idea of like actually being able to fly. That plays a big part in one of the parts of Korra. And that's kind of an extension of what airbenders can already do with the gliders, but it gets a little bit more intense. Shout out to book 3 of Korra, best book.
Anyway, that's on my list for further down the line when I'm not currently getting an intense education.
You just got to watch it for school.
I'm not an animation student, unfortunately. If I were, or if I were in person, I would suggest that my animation friends watch it for school, and I would just so happen to be around while they're watching it.
That's the Galaxy Brain play.
Yeah. I will watch this with you for homework. It'll be your homework, not my homework,
right.
But...
So, speaking of RPGs, that brings us to an announcement. Our first of our monthly D&D streams in our series called Faithful Hedrons will be premiering this Saturday right here on Twitch at 12:30 Mountain Time. And so we'll be doing some awesome D&D action. We have some new faces, or a new face, to the First Geek 411 family, and then a returning face. And so we got some really cool stuff coming in. We got some cool characters. I'm excited just from what I've seen of y'all's already. And so, but Chris will be DMing for us, and he's got some cool stuff. So we'll get a picture of the map posted and stuff like that so that people can kind of see some of what's going on in the world. But are y'all ready?
I just wrote it down so I wouldn't forget. I am so ready. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
This is the first full campaign that I'll be playing in. I've played like 2 one-offs before, but I'm excited for a full campaign. So excited.
I'm pumped.
And then I don't want us to reveal too much, but what kind of character are you playing?
I am a dragonborn druid.
I am a half-elf ranger.
And I will be a minotaur barbarian. Because someone needed to be frontline. And so
that's fair. I just went for the things that I looked at and went, yeah, that sounds like me. And that sounds cool. so I'll take it.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been
Because-
wanting to play Barbarian anyway because I think I'm interested in that play style versus the fighter, which is what I've been playing, and so I don't want to like come off that like, okay, fine, I decided to do this for the party, but
Yeah.
Barbarians are so much fun. I like smashing things.
I tend to be, at least in video games, I tend to be the sniper. I stay far away, but then I just like still fight. So I just sort of went for the same style as it so seemed. But yeah.
And then it's time for us to jump in to our top 3. We are continuing our series on the fruit of the spirit with our top 3 illustrations of kindness. Over on our Twitter, we got one from Justin, and he says pretty much everything Mr. Beast does, whether it's buying everything in a store to give to charity or organizing a program to plant 20 million trees. He's extremely generous. And so I don't personally know, like I don't watch Mr. Beast. Is that something on y'all's list?
No. I mean, my humble opinion is that he's all right. I mean, he's great for doing that kind of thing, but I don't personally watch any of his stuff. So, yeah, that's a good choice.
For me, that was one that like, because I don't watch Mr. Beast, I did not realize that was him, but a bunch of the other channels I watch all did the tree planting thing and helping with that. And so it was really cool to be like, oh, this is the person that like started like helped organize all of this. And like, it's one that I'm sure was mentioned in other videos, but it kind of just went in one ear and out the other for me. And so I thought it was really cool to get that call out from Justin. And so I guess let's get into ours. Emma, why don't you start us off?
I apologize in advance if this is on anyone's list, but the doctor, I feel like, very deep down, is a very kind individual, because all he wants to do is keep the planet from being destroyed. And to get specific, I picked 2 reincarnations. The 4th Doctor from the classic era, and the 11th Doctor, which I feel like are like 2 of the most kind of the reincarnations. So, yeah, that's my first.
I didn't actually put anything from Doctor Who on my list, so you're all good.
Sweet.
I don't know. I went for some more obscure choices. This was honestly the first one to come to mind for me is in Cinderella 2, Dreams Come True, which I think is one of the only Disney sequels worth watching. It's like...
Shots fired.
It's a little like collection of short stories and it's just cute and doesn't... Anyways, I liked it. And there's a story where Cinderella's stepsister, Anastasia, falls in love with a baker. And, of course, Lady and Tremaine and Drizella are, like, not impressed. But Cinderella supports her and helps her get ready for the ball and, like, practice dancing and stuff. And it's so cute. And I just love Cinderella's kindness in that moment to her stepsister.
For me, I feel like there's always the meta game with top 3s of like, especially like since I tend to be the one that goes last, of it's like, okay, well, what do I want to make sure I get? And for me, the one I want to make sure I get this week is the Weasleys. Yeah. And so that's one that like I don't know if that would be on either of y'all's lists, but I wanted to make sure I get it. And so I love the Weasleys from Harry Potter and how they are such a welcoming family. Like, it's so like, even as I guess I don't know if struggle is the right word, but as they have so much going on with all their kids, they want their best for all their kids. They're trying to make everything work. There's always that space at the table for Harry.
Yep.
And like there's always that room for this other person who also needs help. And I just love that characteristic, and I think that is, like, from a story's perspective, so much of what Harry needed. Like, he needed to see a functional family that cared about each other.
And that was done so well
Mm-hmm.
throughout the books and the movies, like, especially given the fact that they had so many kids to deal with. And they were, I do think they were dysfunctional, but the good kind of dysfunctional. Like,
Mm-hmm.
the kind of dysfunctional that's you have more than 2 kids and you're just making sure no one dies and everyone gets fed. Like, you know.
They're chaotic, but very
They're
loving.
chaotic. Very chaotic good.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's just so much about them that, like, I don't know, I feel like I'm kind of just gushing over here, but like that, like, you look at their family versus all the other families that we see in the movies, in the books, and it's like there's so much,
the Dursleys,
like, they're just so much the, like, I don't even necessarily
joy.
Like, that's a great word for it, is like they're the family that's happy to be together. That's not about what they can get from others. It's just they're just happy to be a family. And I just think that's awesome.
What exactly is the function of
Another
a rubber duck? Yeah. All right. For my number 2, just to keep things moving along for whatever reason, is if you want to get mad at me about Disney, you cannot argue that I don't know anything, because my number 2 is Fox and the Hound, which is one of my favorite underappreciated Disney movies of all time, which is a very good example of just kindness. It's exactly what it sounds like. You've got a fox and a hunting hound who are, like, essentially pitted enemies in their species, and they just befriend each other. And then by the end, they're all grown up, they're teenagers, and there's this angry farmer who wants to kill the fox, and the hound lets him go after finding him because he's like, you're my friend. And it's just this whole story of kindness, and the fox is raised by this elderly old woman who just wants to see the world thrive. And it's just kindness in the epitome of animals in their most simple form. So that's my number 2.
All right. For me, I've kind of got Muppets on the mind after Muppet Treasure Island this weekend. This is from Muppets Christmas Carol. At the end of the movie, Beaker gives his scarf to Scrooge. And I think it's just the sweetest little gesture. Like, Scrooge was super mean to them at the beginning of the movie, and there could have been a lot of bad feelings between them. And, like, we know Scrooge is super rich. He doesn't need a little red scarf that barely even fits around his neck. But it's just like a symbol of friendship, and it's just very sweet.
Speaking of Muppets, like, rewatching Treasure Island this weekend definitely has me, like, I was never a huge fan of the Muppets, but I feel like I've seen all of the movies. Like, it's one of those where it's like, I've always enjoyed watching them. It was just one of those things I just never watched more of.
Yeah.
And, like, rewatching it, I'm like, oh, I just, like, it's so funny how much they can do with puppets.
Yeah. I'm excited for this show to be on Disney Plus.
I agree. My number 2, there's always got to be an Avatar or Kingdom Hearts. And so my number 2 is Sora from Kingdom Hearts. The whole my friends are my power, that kind of thing. I think it's a very cool message. And obviously, like, the themes of Kingdom Hearts are pretty, like, straightforward, light and dark, like good and bad type stuff. But one of the things that I've always loved about the series is that it very much kind of hinges on that fact that, like, even if you're not strong enough to do something on your own, there's other people there with you that can help. And and Sora is kind of the middle of that, as someone who isn't the strongest fighter, isn't like the most capable person, but it's his connections to other people that help him be able to overcome the darkness. And like, even when you get to the non-numbered games, like even Kid Sora offering and helping Roxas and doing those, or helping not Roxas, Ventus, and kind of building all those relationships that starts the game into motion. I just think it's so cool to see how that like is such a defining characteristic, that Sora is the one to help the wandering heart, and kind of how that just carries through the whole of the games. Emma, what you got?
Very similar to yours in the basic theme and idea of it. A well-loved character who has almost undoubtedly made an appearance before. The Samwise Gamgee from Lord of the Rings. Well-beloved character. Definition of kindness right there at its simplest form. Kindness and love, and just, I'm gonna get you there, and I'll be dang if I don't. You know? Just lovingly trying to save the world and keep his friend going, and making sure his friend Frodo doesn't go insane. So, that's my number 3, is Sam from Lord of the Rings.
My number 3 is also a Lord of the Rings moment. Not Sam, though. I think the moments of kindness that really stick out are when we're in really deep pain, and when people show us kindness in those moments, they're really powerful. And the moment from Lord of the Rings, right after they come out of Moria and the hobbits are just absolutely crushed at having lost Gandalf, and Aragorn says, like, we gotta go, and Boromir says, give them a moment for pity's sake. Just that understanding in Boromir, like, I know we have to go, but they can't right now. Like, just showing that kindness to the hobbits and loving them in that moment.
My last...
Lord of the Rings is just full of good stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I think that, I mean, you'll hit 2 very good examples. And I think that there's a lot of this that, like, you could almost do, like, the illustrations just from Lord of the Rings, that kind of thing. Like, there's so much, like, depth in that, like, that series. And I say this as somebody who hasn't read the books, and I'm sure there's a whole lot more in the books.
Oh, yeah.
But, like
the
just,
books are worth the read.
Yeah. There's just so much depth there. My last one is from the anime Gurren Lagann, and that's this saying from Kamina that's come up several times and has kind of become a thing between Chris and I, but it's the believe in the me who believes in you. And that's one of those messages that I really like. Kamina is kind of the cool big brother type character to the main character, Simon. And whenever Simon has doubts, this is something that comes up. And I just love this idea of, like, even when you don't think you can do something, I believe in you. So just believe in me as I believe in you. And that idea of, like, going along with someone and supporting them and walking with them. And being that, like, that anchor for someone to help them through. Like, I just think that's such a cool expression. And I know that's one that's come up on, like, some top 3s in the past. So had to get it in here as well.
Good one.
Next week, our top 3, again, ties in with our Keanu talk from earlier, is we're going to be talking about our top 3 movie or TV roles you would recast. So you can either recast, of course it's top 3, there's no rules, but, like, you could recast in the sense of taking an actor or person and plugging them into a role that existed like in a specific movie, almost like the like pick a person, everyone else is Muppets kind of thing.
Yeah.
You could do that approach, or you could do the kind of more general, almost like what we were doing with Keanu earlier, of like, this is a role I would like to see this person play.
Mm-hmm.
And so, or, you know, do something completely different because it's a top 3 and there's no rules. So,
Yes, I like chocolate ice cream. And that is my first pick for this week.
yes, as long as you can make it work, it counts.
I want vanilla ice cream masquerading as chocolate ice cream, masquerading as strawberry ice cream.
You gotta believe.
You just gotta believe and make it work.
You must cast it into the depths of my stomach.
Yes. Oh, man. With that, it has been an awesome week. Thank you, everyone who joined us in Twitch chat and is watching later or listening later. As always, you can find us on our social media at OneGeek411, and then you can join our Discord server if you want to chat with us between the shows. And then if you want to shoot us an email, you can do that at 1stgeek411@gmail.com. And then you can watch live on Twitch Monday nights, 6:45 Mountain Time, and then be part of the post-show chat. And you can also find the videos over on our YouTube, where you can like, subscribe, leave a comment, let us know your favorite Keanu and which Keanu you would like to see in the future. You can check out our Redbubble store, and you can rate and subscribe wherever it is that you listen to podcasts. And then you can also find our show notes on our website, onegeek411.com. And then if you want to check up on us individually, you can do that on our personal social medias. Mine is Hugh Marwithill.
Mine is I am not prepared with an I.
I'm the Hoot and Howl on Twitter and Hoot and Howl Tales, TALES on Instagram.
And it's a great week.
Read a book.
Veggie.